And in the Impact segment tonight, the editor of Time magazine, Rick Stengel, has resigned, going to work for the Obama administration. Since 2009, at least 25 American journalists have been taken by the Democrats and put into the administration, including Jay Carney, White House spokesman. Many believe this proves the national media is a left-leaning entity. With us now, Dana Perino, co-host of The Five, who was the White House press secretary under President Bush. Now, this cuts both ways, because Tony Snow, the late Tony Snow, he was working at Fox, and then he went to be your predecessor as spokesman for W. You were a journalist in the beginning?
That's what I aspired to be, and I worked for WCIA, the CBS affiliate in Springfield, Illinois. But I just wasn't cut out for it. And to be honest, I had never seen bias like that. I grew up in Colorado. I thought everyone thought like I did. And when I got there, it was amazing.
So you saw bias even in local news in Springfield, Illinois. And
definitely. Oh, in Illinois, in the legislature, you bet.
Okay, so you then went into politics and then rose through the ranks to get your job in the Bush administration. Do you believe that 25, that's a lot,
it's a lot,
the Obama administration brings over, that shows that the national media is liberal? I
think it shows a couple of things. Yes, I think that it allows us to stop the charade that everybody is fair and balanced. Tony Snow was an excellent hire by George Bush. He was probably the best press secretary at the podium that the country had ever seen. But when he came from Fox, he had already been a speechwriter for President Bush 41.
Right.
And then when he was working at Fox, he wasn't pretending to be an unbiased journalist.
No,
he was an opinion guy.
That's an excellent point. I talked to Tony. I was a friend of his, as you know. Before he took the job, he called me, and he said, look, I got this opportunity, and he was doing radio. He was on the Radio Factor. He was my sub, and then he was doing a column, and he was doing a whole bunch of things. And I said, take the job if you want it. If you think it'll be fun, interesting, you'll learn a lot, take the job. It's not going to show anything other than you're a Republican, but everybody knows you're a Republican.
Right.
So, now Rick Stengel, the editor of Time magazine, he was supposed to be nonpartisan, right? Nonpartisan guy. We knew he wasn't. Anybody who knows Mr. Stengel, and this isn't a slam at him, but he's a liberal.
It's just honesty.
Guy. So now he says, well, I've had enough of time because it's going down the drain or whatever, and then I'm going to go over to the Obama administration. But Stengel was supposed to be a hard news guy.
But so was Jay Carney. When I was in the White House press office, he was the D.C. bureau chief for Time magazine. And I remember in 2004 when Time magazine did a cover, it was called Cowboy Diplomacy. And it was meant to undermine President Bush's foreign policy. At the time, and I know you've been critical of how some of the Bush administration, how we handled some of the media coverage of the Bush administration, but in a way you're just so under siege. So it's the mainstream media, and you have no other choice but to be gracious, provide facts, provide interviews where you can, and push back when you can. When Jay Carney went to work for Joe Biden initially, before he became the press secretary for President Obama, I remember thinking, okay, good, now we can all just stop pretending. And I think that's healthy. But I think they could look at me and say, well, okay, how ironic is this? She was the former White House press secretary, and now she's on Fox. But I never pretended to be an unbiased person.
We hire analysts, and that's pretty much what you are. I mean, you're the host of the Five, but you're not going out covering, Al-Qaeda attacks.
Right.
We hire people who we think the audience is going to relate to one way or the other. Yeah. I mean, look at Bob Beckel. He's a committed Democrat. So
or people that have experience and bring it.
Yeah, and who can perform also. But I've always said this on this program, that the national media skews left about 7 or 8 to 1. For every conservative working at the national level, there are 8 or 7 liberals.
And the Pew poll bears that out. Every year the Pew poll says that is true. I also think that your point about the magazines and newspapers going down the drain, if you are concerned about job security and you think that there might be a good match for you to work for an administration that you agree with, I think that these journalists are making probably good
making business decisions, sure.
And then that gives them experience for the future.
Off that, they get a big university job.
And the administration,
that's the pipeline.
And the administration needs fresh energy, people who are able to go the distance and finish out the administration.
And I'll tell you what, Dana, after I retire from here, I'm sure I'm going to get some community college offers. I'll be teaching
and you'll probably work for $1.
I'll be teaching at New Mexico Community College or Taos County, whatever it is. But believe me, my alma mater, Harvard, ain't going to offer me a job. I know it up there, you guys. All right, Dana, thanks very much.